Any update on Derek?
He broke his orbit bone, so obviously he's out for the year. And then we'll go from there. Yeah, it's a tough loss for us. And, you don't want a guy like that starting the summer like that. He's a big part of our team.
Does that make it harder to digest? There's been a report that there's no supplemental discipline at all.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's it's tough to swallow. You don't want one of my players, or even when I played, a guy that broke his orbit bone, and it's just very unfortunate. Yeah.
I mean, there is that code, right? I mean, once the guys are tied up, you're not supposed to.
Well, yeah, there is a code, but unfortunately, it didn't happen, and we're going to move on, and we'll figure out those things down the road.
It seemed like a really positive development to see Philip Chytil out on the ice today.
Yeah, no, he. I had breakfast with him this morning. We were talking about it. He feels pretty good, and he said it's different from last year's, which is another positive, and he's already in rehabilitate. Had his mode for the summer training, all that stuff. Like, he's dialed in, and that's really good for us to see.
Has he been skating on his own?
Yeah, he's been skating a little bit. Yeah, ramping up the heart rate, things like that, and kind of reacting off his heart rate. And he's actually got a bunch of good days together. So that's a very positive going in the summer for him.
Today's a key too, right? The heart rate a little bit higher.
Yeah.
See how he feels the next day.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going crazy, but
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a positive thing. I mean, he's got, unfortunately, 4 or 5 months here to get things right, work on some parts of his game, but also part of his body, which is very important.
Thatcher, or are we going to see Thatcher in either of these final 2 games, do you think? Or?
You know what? He's feeling okay, but he's not feeling that great. I'm not going to throw him in. There's 2 games left. I don't think I'm going to play him. There's no reason to. He does feel great body-wise. I think this is the first summer he's going to go in without having to do a surgery. I think it's all positive with Thatcher. He's at a good place mentally. He's got a good team. A good team going forward for his training. I mean, if there's ever a guy that knows how to train and is dialed in, it's Thatcher, minus the surgery. No surgery this year, so this is really big for him.
Just to follow up on what you said yesterday about Petey, the center.
Yeah.
Is his injury? You said he's making progress and stuff. Like, is his injury anything that's going to limit his off season in any way? No.
There's no point even playing him. I'd rather him get a jump start on his training. Why go into, he tries to grind a game here for what? I think it's important that, he gets a running start here, feels good about himself, and get his body in shape and feel good about himself.
What about his training? Patrick talked about maybe spending more time in Vancouver. I mean, I can understand some of the training aspects in the gym and everything, but then there's the ice component. You guys don't have a practice facility. What do you want to see in that respect?
Well, I think when you go in these situations, you really want to get your training dialed in. Like, example, Thatcher Demko. He's almost got his training to like science, to a day. This week I'm doing this. This week I'm going to take off. This week, so he knows what he's doing every week. He's got a good team together. And I think we're just trying to understand Petey for his training the last couple of years. Maybe we can help him. But listen, we can't tell him what to do. But there is going to be some standards that we all have to come into camp with. So whatever you're going to do, you got to make sure that those standards are withheld. That's just the way it is.
Would you like to see him drop into USA Hockey with the Quinn gang and the Hughes gang and all those elite players?
Well, listen, I'm a big fan of that stuff. You look at all the other elite star players. I think Crosby hosts a week or 2 week thing up in in Aspen. Tom Brady, when he was playing, he'd have all his receivers at his house training. I think there's something to it. I know Quinn has a bunch of his friends, high-level players that do it. So, yeah, I'm sure he'd welcome with open arms if he wanted to do it.
Guys like Connor, Quinn said everything they do it's all situational based. It's
Yeah.
not the beauty league. They're going hard and they're going all situational. And the results, I mean, look at Connor's here.
Well, I think what the proof's in the pudding. I know with Quinn 2 years ago, he said we talked at our exit meeting. This is when I just got for that short time. He really wanted to work on his shot. We talked about his shot, power play, work on a one-timer, and obviously the last couple of years, his shot is, I bet you it's probably 10 to 12 miles faster, and he's scored some hell of a goal. So he's put the time and effort to work on that, and now he's going to work on some other things. I think you have to have goals. I don't care if you're what kind of player you are. I think you have to have goals to try to attain.
But he has said some of the stuff he learned was at USA Hockey, like his elusiveness in the offensive zone. Not
Well, I
just a
think,
juke move, but, you know.
yeah, I think he's got a gift, but he also works at his gift. I mean, he can turn on a dime. I mean, if you watch him before a game, he's doing those turns. He does 10, 12 reps of those things. He's got, that's his routine. So yeah, no, he's put a lot of work in to get to where he is. Quinn.
With Forbort out, like, is Meisy ready to go? Can you step in and play more?
Meisy's still a little banged up. Like he would play if the circumstances, but I don't want to play him for the sake of the play him. So we'll probably just call up a guy up. I know, yeah. But you know what? It's I want to see. It's okay. I think at this point in time, it's okay to get guys called up, get a taste. Mules getting called up. Whoever we call up here, one of the defensemen, get a game, maybe two, and see what they got. I think it's good to give them a taste.
Would you bring up a veteran like Wayne, or would you give a guy like Lou a chance just to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we'll talk as a group. We always meet after practice, and we'll go, whether we go the young route or whatever like that.
If Demko is not going to play the last two games, is there an opportunity for Tolopilo to get in on one of these two?
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. I think it's important. Lanks has done a great job for me, and Lanks wants to play. So it's not like but I could split those guys up for sure. That's something that we can talk about.
And with Tolopilo, like, what is the messaging? Because you brought him up in the playoffs last year. You brought him up, like, is it try and show what you can do at the NHL level, or what's kind of the messaging there?
Well, I think he's a big goalie, so there's something there. I think last year he knows that he's got to, the work ethic's got to get a little bit higher. He's got to really work on his craft. You're a big goalie. Can he work on his movements? Can he get stronger in his hip areas, his core? Can his pushes off the like these are the things. I'm not a goalie coach, but this is the sort of stuff that you want this guy to work at because he's got the frame. You get a big goalie that can move. Those are the kind of the guys you want, like a Thatcher Demko. A big guy that can move.
You last night at the podium talked a little bit about third period and the lead getting away from you, and you said there were plays to be made and guys just didn't make plays. Can you just elaborate a little bit? Like, are you talking about plays in the defensive end to alleviate pressure and get the puck out, or are you talking about in the neutral zone making plays to get it into their end and spending more time in the offensive end?
Well, you know me with play without the puck. I'm always going to preach that. That's the only way I think you can win this league. Your play without the puck. But saying that, I meant play with the puck last night. There was ample opportunities to get the puck in the neutral zone, catch it, skate with it, and make a play. We chipped it away, or and that's that's something that we just as coaches got to keep pounding. We did a video today. I know it's only 2 games left, and I said, hey, we're going to keep pounding this in you guys, that you got to be able to make a play under pressure. You got to, there's an opportunity. There was a couple of times we had a 3-on-2, but somehow it turned into a 3 versus 4 because, whether we didn't skate or we didn't scan the ice or these little things that's what we got to work on all summer. Well, players got to work on it. So we'll give them a little bit of things to talk about, what they got to work on, and one of them is be able to make plays under pressure. That's what the game's all about. That's why the best teams win the Stanley Cups, because when the pressure hits, their heart rates are still at 80. They're not 180. I always tell players that. So yeah, it's a long-winded answer, but we have to deal with pressure better than we did this year.
I think there's good things in these games. It's hard, obviously, but you look for positives. You're trying to build for next year. It's obviously a team fighting for their lives, and they showed character, they showed heart, and they did what they had to do to get back in the game. I thought that we didn't really generate much towards the second half. They locked down pretty good, and kind of the story of our year. We get it to overtime and just don't find that extra one.
Jake, what's been so difficult about overtime this season?
I don't know. I think that there's it's one of those things where I think there's strategy involved. I think that there's personnel. There's different things that momentum is even one of them. Honestly, I think there's so many in one spurts of this season where it wasn't going our way, and it just felt like every game we're going overtime. I think it's one of those things where once you kind of have confidence and where guys are going to be, and what the looks are that you're trying to generate, I think it helps. But it's one of those things where that's why the game goes 3-on-3. It's for a little bit of 2-on-1s, things like that. So if you're on the wrong side of it, good teams will make it pay.
You mentioned that they had a lot to play for, and you saw that in the third period. probably the last game you guys will play this year, where there's a lot at stake for at least one of those teams. Is it tough to match that in those moments right now?
No, we want to win for the fans here. They're still coming obviously out, and they've been cheering us on all season. We're at home. We end up at home. That's how I look at it, to be honest with you. I think that there's certain things where guys are trying to cement themselves. Also trying to put in good momentum going into next year to possibly make the team in terms of younger guys and older guys. Trying to finish strong. So it's my first time going through it. But in saying that. There's still a game to be played, and no one wants to lose. We're all competitive, and it still stings.
What was your reaction to the incident with Forbort?
Yeah, scary. I mean, honestly, I hate that. I've always hated that. My dad's a tough guy, and he hated when guys did that. It's heat of the moment. I'm not saying anything like that, but that's he's probably one of my best buddies on this team, and he's gone through so much this year. It was scary. You kind of hope the linesman get in there a little earlier, but. At the same point, it's so fast, and it's one of those things where you see blood and things like that, and you see the replay, and it just looks ugly. So, I really hope he's okay. And but yeah, even growing up, and I think that's something that all tough guys will agree. You don't necessarily want to do that, but it is heat of the moment, and very unfortunate, I guess.
Jake, what did you see from your new line mate, Ty Mueller, tonight?
Yeah, honestly, we didn't really help him too much, honestly, as a line, me and Brock, but. I thought he was pretty good in terms of details in the defensive zone, and he's a crafty player. And it's one of those things where first games are always tough, especially later on in the year. I find that teams are kind of have their system down pat. Like I was saying earlier, there's a team playing for playoffs, and I think it was really good for him. He's a pretty good player. Nice to have another Albertan on the line. I wish I could have done more for him in terms of generating chances. I think that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, it was tough. We were defending a lot in that game. I thought some more plays to be made, and I think we kind of gave it away to them too much and let them come at us.
Take me through the overtime winner.
Well, we had possession for a while, and then they obviously got possession. It's always tough when teams start crisscrossing. We got to make sure we mark our man and stick with them. I think when we get crossed up like that in overtime is when we lose our guy and kind of start staring at the puck a little bit. So I think that's what happened. So for sure something we gotta. I mean, what do we have now? 13 or 14 overtime losses. So those are important points.
How about for you, late in the year to score your first as a Canuck? What does that mean to you ahead of the offseason?
Yeah, obviously always fun to score. Maybe not known to score, and maybe not why I was brought over, but it's always fun. But yeah, too bad we couldn't get the result. I thought even though we were defending a lot, we defended hard. Kind of had some giveaways. I had one myself when I tried to go off the glass and hit a stick, and they keep it alive. And they're a desperate team. They need these points. So yeah, I think we kind of handed it to them by giving them the puck too much.
Your reaction to the incident with Forbort?
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. I think it was one of the dirtiest things I've seen. So yeah, we'll see what the league does. So I hope Forbort is okay. I haven't seen him now after. Because that was a scary punch, and I didn't like it at all.
We're just yeah.
We'll now present you the goal.
Generational talent.
Thanks for liking the video and subscribing.